Tonight, special prosecutor fights back amidst claims this week the office is futile as it publishes a raft of cases it has pursued, including the disclosure of the busting of a massive foreign currency counterfeiting syndicate in Ghana, where $40 million worth of fake bills were seized.
Mr. Speaker, do we want a young man, 43 years, removed from the lecture?
We have the very latest for you, plus we are in Parliament where the House has been told expect road tolls next year.
Mr. Speaker.
And top story is always brought to you by Vodafone. It was this week the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babing, delivered this verdict on the setting up of the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
For the law you passed on the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I did tell you that it was an act in futility. You were not going to achieve anything from that, but you went ahead to pass it. I disagreed with you, but I was alone. But I'm very clear in my mind that that authority is embedded in the powers of the Attorney General, constitutionally. Who delegated to who? No, but that is not what you put in the Act. What you just need to do is to fund the office of the Attorney General well and remove the Minister of Justice. You separate the two. Minister of Justice is a political appointee. The Attorney General is a technical person, and he only is ranked in conditions of service to that of a Minister of State. It doesn't mean they have to be incorporated too.
And now the Speaker this week. Well, today, the Special Prosecutor is fighting back. It has published a raft of cases it has pursued, and one of it includes a disclosure of a successfully disruption of the operations of a syndicate involved in the huge production of counterfeited money in Ghana. A staggering amount of $40 million was discovered in concealed steel trunks and seized at two different locations in Accra alone on the back of that operation led by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. My colleague is with me in the studio with more on this. Samuel Mbura, what else do we know on this?
Well, Evans, this was an operation based on intelligence from an informant. We are learning the culprits attempted absconding 5 minutes before OSP teams surrounded the building and were arrested. The number of people arrested in this operation is not known yet, but investigations are still underway to track some of the members of the syndicate. And
are there other cases the OSP has been prosecuting? We know he's been publishing this list of cases that he's been prosecuted over the last few years, again in the wake of the criticism we've had this week from the Speaker. Exactly, Evans. For the past days, the OSP has been updating on its social media platforms a number of cases. They include 10 cases of prevention of corruption, prosecutions, and detected cases of corruption. So let me just run you through some of the cases when it comes to cases that have to do with detected acts of corruption. One, we have the Charles Edubuahin case. According to the OSP, after an exhaustive inquiry prompted by the President's referral regarding the former Deputy Finance Minister's conduct in an investigative documentary by Tiger PI titled Galamsey Economy, the OSP concluded that Mr. Edubuahin engaged in misconduct as a public officer and his actions constituted trading in influence. Again, on the detected acts of corruption, the case of La Bianca Company Limited and Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority is also part. The office initiated investigations in response to a corruption complaint and corruption-related offences involving La Bianca Company Limited and the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. The OSP uncovered instances of the misuse of customs advance rulings and substantial evidence indicating that these rulings were procured during influence or through influence peddling for the owner of La Bianca, who also happens to be a member of the Council of State. So these are cases that we know the OSP has talked about before. What is of interest tonight is this syndicate that they busted. They've been in the business of counterfeiting foreign currency. They discovered some $40 million worth of fake bills concealed in trunks here in Accra and in Tema, steel trunks, and seizing these two different locations. That obviously is a concern for many working in this industry. I want to bring in Dr. Ishmael Norman, who joins us on the telephone line right now. He is a security analyst. Also joining me is Eric Nikwote. He's a chartered banker, a banking consultant with some expertise in this area of money laundering too. Gentlemen, thanks for your time here on Top Story. Dr. Ishmael Norman, $40 million worth of fake bills, currency, but also this syndicate operating in two locations in Ghana. I mean, that amount, what does it tell you? I mean, if we have that operating in this country, that pretty sounds like a scary one.
It is a scary one, and the syndicates, doing counterfeit business are very quick. They move from one location to the other. So just about every country in the world, whether it's the EU, the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, they have incidents of such syndicates, and they finally get caught. But they don't get caught until probably they are well advanced in their machinations and in their dealings. In this country, since, say, 10 years back, every year, the police or some other security agencies arrest a group of a syndicate that is counterfeiting money. So it is a very dicey issue. You cannot blame the police, national security, or Yoko, because it's a shifty kind of operation, and because they know what they are doing is wrong or criminal, they move from location to location. I'm not surprised that they are operating in Tama and Kumasi, and probably they are in other locations in the country as well. So they create redundancy so that when you get one group caught, the other group continues until you catch them, because the business is so lucrative that they take every risk to do it. So I think it is a very difficult thing to control, but we have to try and minimize that, and it means that the national security say something, has to be operationalized better.
And stay with me, and let me bring in Eric Nikwote, who's a chartered banker and a banking consultant. Eric, tell me, there is a real risk that part of what they were producing, the currencies that they were counterfeiting, may already be in circulation. And by the way, according to the OSP, they busted this syndicate and they found the production centers in two locations here in Accra and in Tema. Eric, if indeed we're working with that assumption, is it first of all safe to assume that there's a likelihood that this currency, some of it, may be in circulation, knowing what you know of the industry?
Well, it's a very unfortunate situation we have at our hand at the moment, because in a not too long workshop organized by the DOG and the FIC, we were told that mutual evaluation time is up for Ghana by GIABA or FACS. And so the timing is not very good for us. But on the other hand, it gives us the opportunity to really sit back and look at our AML framework and structures that we have in the banking industry and the financial space as a whole. But as we speak now, if these monies are already here with us in the country, then it means that everything is wrong or gotten wrong already. And we need to be very, very careful, particularly from the port as they were. We don't have all the information at the moment, so we cannot go out there to make input like just in that.
What is the risk, though?
That we get to know where these monies have come from, where are the entry points, and how do they get in. It is very good that the OSP and the military are able to get hold of it in a part of the world. But then how do they get it is a thing that we need to look out for, and the banking industry must be very ready, because certainly this money, if it's already entered into circulation, will reach the bank. And so the banking industry must be very ready under the circumstances, because the risk is a huge one at the moment.
I mean, again, if you're looking at what was seized, that's $40 million worth. That's a lot of money. And then you begin to wonder how much of that was already in the system. And give me a sense, what will be the potential impact on the financial sector if we have such amount of money, fake currency in circulation?
Well, we must be grateful and thankful to God that the authorities have taken hold of it, which suggests that, granted without admitting that all is well, because we have reached 40 million. We are not sure how much entered in the country because we don't know how it entered in the first place. And so for whatever reason, at least speak, whatever we have now, it's all right with the security agencies, but the banking industry must be asked to their game at this point in time, because money laundering is banking. But the good thing is that banking in itself as a profession of the business is anti-money laundering by their working regulations. And so the banking industry must pick up immediately. All the banks must look at their ALS structure. They must look out for all the red flags and be very careful with any form of foreign currency deposit that is coming to the banking industry at this point in time. Number two, every organization in the country, statutory organizations, government, what have you, who have a license to manage foreign exchange, the foreign exchange market must also be very careful at this point in time, because that dirty money is already here with us. And whatever we do with it, any form of this money that enters into our economy for whatever purpose, it's already a money laundering issue. And so all government agencies who handle foreign exchange payments, fees and things must also be up to their game on this matter. Because it becomes very easy for these people to want to use this money to pay for bills that have to do with government. The whole idea of money laundering is to launder the money, send it into the financial services industry, and then through the government agencies, and you can't work for them. So with the government agencies, every player in the foreign exchange market, every organization that is licensed to handle foreign currency must be very careful at this stage, particularly the banking industry.
And Dr. Ashima-Norman, to think about the sort of setup you require to manufacture $40 million worth of fake bills, it's just mind-boggling that we have that set up in Ghana in two different locations producing this. And then this is a dollar, so it's a very complex process to even produce one if it's not done according to the rules that governs the process. They're counterfeiting it in essence. And we have that established in Ghana. Beyond the fact that we've seized 40 million, beyond the fact that these individuals are behind bars and are going to be prosecuted, do you expect more work to establish who else may be involved in this syndicate beyond the people arrested on site?
Exactly.
Evans, just before I respond to that question, traditional definition of money laundering according to Financial Action Task Force does not include counterfeiting money. So that's a clarification that I want to throw in there. Money laundering does not include counterfeiting money. It is a very traditional, normal banking money laundering activity, and that is what the Financial Action Task Force defines money laundering and financing of terrorism and so on and so forth for. I'm very familiar with those regulations, and it does not include counterfeiting. Secondly, it is not that complicated to counterfeit money. What you need is a plate, that is the money, the image of the money you want to print, the kind of ink that you're going to use, and the right form of paper. It's not that complicated. So these kinds of operations, once they get a template and they have the right paper and they have the right ink, they can operate in a bedroom, in a shower, they can operate anywhere. So it is possible to presume, I would rather think that there are quite a few cells of these operations within Ghana. They create redundancy, they multiply their plates, one in Accra, one in Tema. You could even find one in Kumasi, Takoradi, wherever business activity is active and people travel from there to other places, you are most likely to find them, especially when they think that the security architecture is a little bit porous, that they can operate for a while before they get caught. They know they will be caught, but they also look for the window of opportunity before they get caught. So there could be quite a few of these cells operating, duplicating money, counterfeiting money in Ghana as we speak.
Even when you're duplicating the dollar, is that easy?
It's not that complicated. I mean, talk to any of the people that are very familiar with this concept of criminality, and they will tell you that all you need is the plate, the ink, and the paper, and you are in business.
What do you expect the state agencies to do now? Of course, they've had one bust. You suggesting that we could have a bit more in the system. And I'm talking about the dollar. We know what happens to this country when you have the system flooded with dollars. That then, of course, people can use to, you wash that, you legitimize that bill. If you can buy a property with it, for example, instantly, that then is washed and it goes into the financial system. Should we have a bit more aggression towards this, including the Bank of Ghana, for example, in this also?
We should, and I believe that the Bank of Ghana probably has a surveillance desk for this, and Yoko is doing his best, Ghana Police is doing his best, Office of Special Prosecution is doing his best, but like I said before, the whole system of counterfeiting is so shifty that they move about so easily that you simply have to create a pre-crime unit for that particular crime to be able to really infiltrate the syndicate that do this, to know where they are going to operate and where they are operating. So it's a difficult challenge. It doesn't mean our government shouldn't pursue it, and Ghana Police needs to be resourced a bit more. Yoko needs to be resourced a bit more. And Central Bank needs to have a section for that so that they can actually anticipate what's going to happen, particularly during big events like Christmas and Easter and Ramadan, and people are traveling. You know, these activities, you see an uptick of them when these events are going to happen. So our police system, our policing system, not the police, needs to be a little bit more active and preemptive in anticipating what's going to happen, put men and women on the ground, boots on the ground, and sniff every event that they consider to be suspicious.
Dr. Ishmael Norman, thank you very much. Eric Nikwater, thank you very much. On the night when we learned from the Office of the Special Prosecutor that there is a syndicate operating in Ghana in two locations, Accra and in Tema, manufacturing dollar bills. They've seized $40 million worth of that alone. I want to take it to Parliament next. Now confirmed, road tolls are making a comeback, and they're coming back in 2024. My parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, is with me in the studio. We got a bit of this indication. The last time this was mentioned on the floor by the Transport Minister. Yeah. There is confirmation of this now.
Yes, in fact, if you look at the Roads and Transport Committee report that was taken on the floor, the Roads Ministry got about 4.6 billion Ghana cedis in terms of budgetary allocation. And one of the key areas they want to raise revenue from is the road tolls. We know they cancelled it in 2021 when e-levy was introduced. Government expected they were going to get so much money, but that money did not come. And so the ministry says 2024 road tolls are likely coming back, and they are going to digitize the system so that it's not just going to be people manning this. But Kwame Agboja, who is the former ranking member on that committee, now the minority chief whip, says this is a welcoming development, and that government's plan also to do what is called a dialogue on financing road is the way to go.
The minister is proposing for a national dialogue on road financing. Mr. Speaker, I think that is
the appropriate thing to do. Let us all have a conversation as to how we fund our roads. We can never have enough loans or World Bank or free money from anywhere. So let's have a debate on how we fund our roads internally. So apart from this is the most important thing I have seen in this, because if we are able to address this together as one people, we have sat here and said that once upon a time, accrual to road fund was just about 250 million. Honorable Enusa Husseini came to this house and requested Parliament to increase the petroleum revenue portion to 47%. That is what made it 1.2 billion at the time. Today it's approaching 3 billion. Maybe it's time we need to think of what we can do to see if we can generate our own 6 to 10 billion cedis annually. Then a finance minister can decide what to do with that, because that is our own money. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very excited about that particular one. The last one is the reintroduction of road tolls. Mr. Speaker, I think the minister has done the right thing. We've maintained that the suspension was in a haste. Even if today, by the time we suspended it, we were getting 78 million. Mr. Speaker, 78 million can pay SMCs, small, medium contract who are within the roadside, because today we can't pay them. So I welcome the bold decision by the minister to reintroduce the debate on road tolls as well. We don't believe it should come in the form it used to be. It can come in a form that is more sustainable and that can protect the accruals more than it used to be. So, Mr. Speaker, these two paragraphs I'm happy about.
And Kweku, this was a very controversial matter when the government first announced they were going to scrap road tolls because they were anticipating at the time they were going to introduce the e-levy to cater for the gap that will be created. Did the majority side eat humble pie? Were they willing to admit that they were wrong?
Well, yes, but not in terms of clearly admitting that was it. Afenyo Makin started by acknowledging that actually the reason why government had to abolish road tolls was because of a certain research that had been done. But he concedes that a lot of money has gone down the drain, and now that government is reintroducing the tolls, it's going to bring in a lot of money to government coffers to at least, if not even do main roads, it can be able to pass some potholes.
The committee tells us that the road tolls are likely to be reintroduced. I believe that for good reason, government had a policy of not having tolls collected. The Speaker, at the time, we were receiving almost about just a little over 70 million. That over 70% of tolls collected ended up in wrong hands. I hold a view that this reintroduction of the road tolls, which reintroduction my respected colleague, the Chief Whip on the minority bench, has no problem with, upon being reintroduced, should come with, Mr. Speaker, a digitalized solution to sustain it, so that the human interface will be minimized, if not to be eradicated. We have systems that would allow a perfect way of collecting these tolls for the funds to get into government hands. I believe that with the work done by this research body, that revealed that if the road tolls are properly accounted for, we're likely to rake in between 2.5 to 3 billion.
Let me bring in Alex Tete. He's the Vice Chair of the Roads and Transport Committee. Joins us right now. Mr. Tete, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much.
First off, when you first introduced this idea of scrapping the road tolls, the minority told you it was a wrong step to take. Ready to admit at least that this is a typical I told you so moment. You were wrong, they were right at least?
First of all, let me thank you for the opportunity. I think as a nation, a government has ability to introduce or continue with a policy that you think will not actually bring benefits to Ghanaians. The cancellation of the road toll came as a result of the introduction of the e-levy. Government was anticipating that you would get a lot of revenue to finance our roads. But at the end of the day, we were not able to get the needed resources to finance the roads. So last week on our committee meeting, the minister and 8 agencies came and actually briefed the committee that they are going to reintroduce the road toll. It will not be in the old form. It will be digitalized, and at the end of the day, the human face will be minimized so that we can save a lot of money. And for example, the reconstruction or the expansion of the of Anchor 21 road, I think it will be part of the touring. Just this afternoon, we passed about 338 million for the reconstruction of the motorway. And in that agreement, there is an introduction of Road 2. That means that the PPP or the private person who is going to construct this particular road will use that one as part of the revenue to defray the money that the government is taking into this particular. So I would say that we have lost some of the money. And the traffic situation was also one of the major factors that actually came in, and the minister decided to actually close these two booths. So the reintroduction, since Parliament, both sides of the House have accepted it, I think it's a good news to Ghana, and we hope to see a modernization of the road tolls.
But the tolls coming in next year, there's a proposal to increase the tolls.
Actually, if you look at the proposal, there is no specific date on the budget that they will introduce it in 2024. What I know of is that the agreement now that Parliament has actually passed today for the reconstruction of the motorway. At the end of the day, it's a 36-month reconstruction. And when it is done before the road tolls will be introduced in the motorway, I don't know that other roads will be introduced just from next year. For that one, I have not seen it in the report. But there was a mention of reintroduction of the motorway, but there is no specific date on it.
But the tolls will increase from what we used to know prior to 2021. Correct?
I mean, we have to, as a nation, we have to actually dialogue on how to finance our roads. If you look at elsewhere, our government is not burdened with road construction. And in Ghana, looking at the request from the various constituencies and elsewhere, I think that we need to debate, because if you look at the other African countries and elsewhere, our road toll is the least among the other countries. So the reintroduction, I think we should have a consultation and stakeholders meeting to agree, so that at the end of the day, the road financing will not be a burden on our budget. Looking at the other demands from the other sectors.
Mr. Tete, you decided, your government, the majority side, the MPP government, you decided to scrap it. Nobody pushed you to do so. Everybody was paying.
Yeah, my brother, if you look at the number of hours that you spend in this particular tolling area, it's something that government decided to actually
that was the argument
remove it to free some of the traffic situation.
Yes,
at the end of the day, we have lost a lot of money, I know, but it also helps some areas that I think the drivers, especially those who apply motorway and other, you can imagine the traffic situation there. So let us all come together as a nation, as the minority former ranking member Kwame Abuja has agreed that we should look at how we can finance our roads.
Politically, there's consensus. The other side actually said you shouldn't do this, and you did it. So now there's consensus that this is the right thing to do. But you need to give us clarity. Before the committee, have you had proposals that when it's introduced, what we pay for the tolls will go up? Have you had a proposal already to consider?
No, we have not received any proposal yet.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Alex Tete, Vice Chair on the Roads and Transport Committee on the subject of the reintroduction of road tolls. There's a big event tomorrow, and I need to tell you about. And talking about a big event tomorrow, guess who is joining me to tell us all about it? Samson Lada Yenini. He's the host of Newsfire. Hello, Samson.
Hi, everyone.
Great to have you. What's happening tomorrow on the show? I call it an event. It's not a show. What is it?
Yes, so tomorrow is the day that once in a quarter we take a break, we pause from our usual, paneling, and then we engage carefully selected, individuals who we think are achieving, doing amazing stuff in their own field and are capable of speaking from looking at the issues that we look at from different perspectives in a way that influences change. And so we call it Joy Change Speakers. So tomorrow, that's what we are doing. And we're doing what we have dubbed the Diaspora Edition.
And you have some great names on this. If I want to go through the list right now, you salute me. But let me do just that. Mary Spio is on it, is a deep space engineer. Yes, you heard that right. CEO and founder of Seek Metaverse. Who else is on apart from her?
Right. So individuals who are doing very wonderful stuff. Mary, you just mentioned, an engineer doing wonders in the U.S., of course, with a background from Ghana through Holy Child, and then gone there to do her university education and doing marvelous things. We're interested in what different perspectives to bring to influence, interacting with Ghana, her home, what he can bring to bear to influence change and help us to think differently. You have Nana Oforiata. She's a scholar. She teaches in London. She's a filmmaker. She's very well decorated. She's been awarded so many times on some of the biggest platforms in the world that we hardly, hear and celebrate this group of people. Ibrahim Mahama is somebody that you would be familiar, many people will be familiar with because of what he's doing in Tamale. So these are people, innovators, people who think differently. In places in Tamale where there is no hope, he, on his own, thinks out of the box and takes a lot of hope to the place for children. And he's traveling across the globe. He's sought after doing all sorts of good things there. Yeah, so the lineup is an interesting lineup, and I can't wait to interact with them tomorrow.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to hearing Dr. Elikem Tamaklo, who is a managing director of Nyaho Medical Center, for example, who is also on the panel tomorrow. And of course, Kofi Cranting. And I still have Kofi Cranton's name saved on my phone as Kofi Ghana Connect. And I remember speaking to him, and anybody who may remember this, Whiness.
The famous whining.
Whining, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, he really took on the government, held the political folks to account, and subsequently wanted to be a presidential candidate. In fact, went into being a presidential candidate, attempted it. That is very interesting indeed to have him on the show. And then you have Suleimana Isifu. He's a microbial economist. I'm just beginning to try and wrap my head around what that is exactly. And a social activist as well, that I understand. But that clearly tells you the list tomorrow is stellar, and you don't want to miss it, Samson.
Definitely.
You want to join Samson and his guest tomorrow for the Joy Change Speaker Series, the Diaspora Edition. It's from 9 to 12 noon. This is Ghana Connect.